is that?
Oh, my ears! So screwed now!
Marvel has some really beautiful shots, with some amazing visual effects. I'm a fan of both DC and Marvel, but I can safely say that Marvel CG is leagues better than anything I've seen from DC movies. Which is why it's so disappointing when Marvel puts out movies with awful CG. I'm not a CGI expert or anything. I'm not even sure how CGI works most of the time, but I do have eyes, and I can see that so much of the CGI in Phase 3 and Phase 4 Marvel movies are either really lackluster or just painfully obvious CGI, which makes me wonder why these movies are getting nominated for Oscars and why they're being praised for using unnecessary blue screens. Marvel CGI has declined, and I think it's something that should be criticized, not praised. One of the major reasons Marvel's CG looks so poor is because there's so much of it. And too much CG isn't a bad thing. Big-scale fantasy and sci-fi movies like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings rely heavily on CGI, since most of the worlds, characters, and technology in these movies don't actually exist. But the problem with recent Marvel movies is that there's no balance between practical effects and computer-generated effects. Take a look at these behind-the-scenes screen caps. For No Way Home, they blue-screened a party. And you could argue that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they didn't want so many unmasked people in one room. But they did the same thing for Black Widow. Here, they used a blue screen for a bar. They couldn't drive 10 meters to the nearest bar and film there? Black Widow was filmed in 2019, long before the pandemic. And in Spider-Man Far From Home, they CG'd Nick Fury's gun. There's no excuses for that. It's like they're just using CG because they have it, not because it serves any actual purpose to the movie. It's like how Henry Cavill's mustache was edited out in Justice League. Why go through such a necessary effort? We don't need to use CGI for every single little thing. Practical effects hold up so much better, and they're less likely to get dated. Take a look at this scene from Jurassic Park. The T-Rex looks so real. This movie was from 1993, back when most CG looked like this. For the T-Rex effects in Jurassic Park, the studio built 2 life-size animatronics, one of them 37 feet long. The effort pays off because the effects for Jurassic Park still hold up well even 30 years later. The truck flip was completely real, all done without CGI. And look at this scene from Terminator 2 with commentary from the director, James Cameron.
Here it gets interesting. You see this helicopter going under a freeway overpass? Yeah. That's a helicopter going under a freeway overpass. The crew...
That was real?
The camera crew said, we won't shoot that. So I said, okay, fine, I'll shoot it myself.
Obviously, a stunt like this is really dangerous, so it's understandable if a director opts for CGI instead. But there should be a balance between practical effects and computer-generated effects. I think practical effects should always be the go-to for movies. CG should only be used when practical effects are either impossible or unsafe. Practical effects take a lot more time, effort, and money, but it's worth it because it feels real. And even though practical effects take a long time, so does good CGI. The more unnecessary CGI that Marvel adds to their movies, the more strain it puts on animators to do all these effects in such a short amount of time. Instead of letting animators put all their focus on making a few really good CG effects, they have to rush their work and make tons of poor quality CG. Poor visual effects pulls the audience out of the believability of the story. It reminds them that they're watching a movie, that the movie isn't real, which is never a good thing. In earlier movies, Marvel kept their CGI to a minimum. Granted, the stories weren't as expansive as they are now. The original Iron Man didn't have to fight aliens on strange planets after all. But still, Iron Man's suit looks so much cooler in his original movies than it does in Infinity War. That's because, in the first Iron Man, his suit was partly real, a combination of practical effects and CGI. Take a look at this Iron Man. And now, look at this Iron Man.
You throw another moon at me.
Iron Man's suit is almost completely CGI, and it shows. Far From Home is probably the biggest offender of unnecessary CG. When I was watching the movie, I was so sure they filmed the whole thing in a studio, because none of it looked real to me. I was shocked to find out that they actually went to Venice to film some of these scenes. Why go through all the trouble of flying to Venice if you're not going to use the setting to its full potential? I get that for the heavy action, they might have to use green screens, but why use it for scenes where the actors are just talking to each other? Why does the background have to be fake? We could have had Peter and MJ walking through a Venice that looked like this. Instead, we had a cloudy, ugly, knockoff Venice. Computer-generated technology has improved a lot over the decades. When I first saw Avatar as a kid, I was amazed by the special effects. When I saw The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in 2014, I loved Electro's fight scenes. I didn't have to constantly think about the computer effects. Everything looked so seamless, I forgot it was CGI, and I was completely immersed in the scene instead. I thought the effects would only get better for movies as the years went on, especially for superhero movies, but lately, they haven't. Unnecessary CGI isn't the only reason for the quality decline. With Marvel movies specifically, lots of the CGI looks bad because of the heavy time constraints on the CG production. There's not enough time to do proper effects, so it comes out sloppy and half-finished. Marvel wants to stick to their schedule and get their films released on time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it comes at the cost of quality CGI. Considering Marvel is a billion-dollar company, I think time constraints are a poor excuse for poor CGI. Marvel has billions of dollars. They can afford to push back the release date on their movies, especially if it means the movies will turn out better. Back in the 90s, The Lion King got delayed for 2 years because the animators needed time to work on the Stampede sequence. Just one sequence and the movie was pushed back for 2 years. The Stampede scene needed hundreds of wildebeests, so to pull it off, the animators did a mix of traditionally drawn animation and computer-generated effects, a very complicated task, especially in the early 90s. But the wait was worth it because the scene looks perfect. Now, it's one of the most memorable parts of The Lion King. Disney owns Marvel, so they can definitely give the same standards they gave The Lion King to their newest Marvel movies. But they're so focused on making money that they're pushing these movies out way too fast. Don't get me wrong, Disney has always been about making money, but in the words of former Disney CEO Mike Eisner, the Walt Disney Company has no obligation to make art, to make history, to make a statement. But to make money, it is often important to make history, to make art, or to make some significant statement. In order to make money, we must always make entertaining movies, and if we make entertaining movies, at times we will reliably make history, art, a statement, or all three. In other words, to make money, you have to make good movies. But now, Disney and Marvel are taking shortcuts and rushing the production of their films. They're sacrificing the quality of their movies because they know people will come to see them anyways. Marvel movies have great stories, but that doesn't mean they should get away with poor CGI. They had great CGI in the past, and with all the money they have, they could improve their effects and make these movies stunning in both their stories and in their visuals. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to know what you think about Marvel's effects. Have they really gotten worse? Have they gotten better? Or is it somewhere in between? Let me know in the comments below.